All right, everybody, welcome back. IndyCar here on Prime Sports Network. It's been a while. It's been a month. Part of the scheduling process with IndyCar. I know we talked about that last show, but we're finally back. Got a lot of action coming up through the month of April, and then it rolls into the biggest month of the year for IndyCar in the month of May. So we're finally rocking and rolling. Eric Smith here, Race Review Online from racereviewonline.net. You can follow me on Twitter at Eric_Race Review. But be sure, while we're watching this video, subscribe to this channel at Prime Sports Network. We're almost at 2,000 followers at this moment. So we're almost there. You just be part of this. We're going to give you all kinds of coverage all year for IndyCar. Already doing it for NASCAR. CJ's got F1. Greg and I will be talking the Richmond NASCAR race weekend. So you get all into one. Plus, if you find the channel, even if you're just kind of a new motorsports fan, they got March Madness, Masters coverage, the Derby coming up, everything you can watch, or NFL draft coming up in the next month. So Prime Sports Network is the place to be to get all these previews, storylines and trends and betting options, everything you want. So be sure to subscribe to this channel. So we'll focus on IndyCar in this video. They're back, month off. Probably forgot about last race. It was a messy one. There was a lot of carnage down in St. Pete, millions of dollars of damage between all these cars. You had two leaders taking each other out at the end after the final pit stops. Pato O'Ward took over the lead. Looked like he was on his way to get his first career win as far as in a season opener. I know he's won before, but this would have been a huge start for McLaren. And unfortunately, an electrical gremlin hit him with 2 laps to go. Actually getting ready to come across the finish line for 2 laps to go. Marcus Ericsson played the strategy game perfect. There he was, lurking all weekend, kind of flying under the radar like he always does. Pato has an issue. Ericsson passes him, never looks back, gets another win. 4 now in his career, 3 of them on street courses. He has the points lead coming into this weekend at Texas. Pato O'Ward, luckily, was just a quick little gremlin, so it sucks that he didn't win for him, but still got second. Scott Dixon, Mr. Reliable, there in third. So they're the top 3 in the points heading to Texas, and that's a big story because that's going to segue into my 5 things that I'm watching for this weekend, which we're going to do this every race, 5 things that I'm watching coming to the race weekend, and those 3 are one of them. Because if you look at the schedule coming up, this is a really good stretch of tracks for them, and the fact they started off St. Pete the way that they did, they could further their gap on the field. 3 of the last 4 series champions, they podiumed in St. Pete. And that's big because these are the 3 that were on the podium. Ericsson was in the running last year for the championship. Dixon's always in the running. And that's why it's so big for Pato O'Ward, because he starts off on the right footing. And the last 18 years, the championship also scored a top 10 finish 17 of the last 18 years in the season opener. 4 consecutive podium finishes there. So that's why these 3 I'm watching at Texas. Pato O'Ward talked about as a great first step. First race, starting the year on top. He won at Texas in 2021. So he's a recent winner there. You got Marcus Ericsson. 3 of the last 4 season opener winners won the championship. Not just podium, it's the winner. Well, Ericsson's right in that driver's seat. He did so good last year, tailed off towards the end of the season. He kind of mentioned the pressure of leading the points. He's never done that before. Kind of got to them, the qualifying struggle. But remember, right, Ericsson got a podium here last year that really got his season going. And he turned that around and won the Indy 500, which is the track most comparable to Texas. So Pato O'Ward winning in 2021, Ericsson on the podium last year, winning the Indy 500, and then you got Dixon. This is his track. I talked to him earlier this week. He was on the IndyCar Zoom call, talked about how strong he is at a place like Texas. 24 starts, 5 wins. 4 of those since 2015, 3 of the last 6 overall. He's got 4 straight top 5s. He's led 677 laps. And I went deeper. Out of his whole career there, he's led 1,043 laps. The amount of times he's led the field are more laps than 16 of the 27 or 28 drivers in this field this weekend have even completed there. He's led more laps than they've even turned. So he's got a big advantage. I talked to him about that on Tuesday, about how much you can use that experience to your advantage at a place like Texas, knowing that super speedways are no easy feat. I also talked to him about, as far as with that advantage, they were good there last year. IndyCar, we've seen, they've got a bunch of different disciplines of tracks. You got super speedways, short ovals, road courses, street courses. Out of all those disciplines, it's hard to remain on top. Because think about it, right? If you're good in one area, but you lack in another, what are you going to spend your time on in the off season? You're going to go in the lacking area to try to improve there. But there's other teams that might have been lacking in an area you were strong at, or you're trying to gain there. Dixon has consistently been good at Texas over the years and not have lost a step. I also talked to him about that. So those are a couple things. If you want to watch the full the video, my interview with him, it's on. The link will be in the description here at the bottom of the page when this video is posted. So please check that out. You'll see my Q&A with Dixon. Talked about him. So, but also with these three, to put them all in a grouping. After Texas, we go to Long Beach. Award was 5th last year. Dixon was 6th. Erickson, like I said, 3 of his 4 wins are on street courses. We're back on the street course. Should have had a podium there last year. After that, you go to Barber. Dixon's got 9 podiums and like 11 tries there. Award won there last year. And then you're at Indy, as I just said. Erickson won last year. The road course, they're all 3 solid. Are they going to win the road course? They're not the best on the Indy road course, but they're a solid top 5, top 10. And then you get to the Oval where Dixon's won the last 2 poles. Erickson won the race last year. Pato's 3 for 3 in top 6s at the 500. So this Texas stretch, they got the momentum. That's why I'm watching them Sunday. If they can keep a top 5, all 3 of them again, they can really make this championship a fight between themselves. I know it's early, but I said those trends, you start off early, it pays off in the long run. However, also, the segue to the next part is the Big Two. And what I mean by the Big Two is you've got Penske and Ganassi. Those are the top teams of Texas. Last March, nobody had anything for them. The top 7 finishers all were Penske and Ganassi. They've won the last 10 IndyCar championships, 14 of the last 15 overall. We just talked Dixon and Erickson, both Ganassi guys. Penske, is one to improve this weekend. They don't really have much at St. Pete. The ones that did, they took each other out. So they're going to come out with something. They've won the last 7 of the last 9 Texas races. So these are the teams to beat. These 2 are. Last year, Penske had a little bit of a leg up on Ganassi. Granted, like I said, they're on the top 7, but Penske, they fought each other for that thrilling finish to win. I know we'll get that video here soon. But Penske had 3 of the top 4 finishing spots. And they've had either first or second place finisher in the last 7 Texas races. That tells you one of the 3 Penske guys is at least going to be in the top 2 at the end of this race. Can they win? Trends say yes. The 2 Ganassi guys are going to try to be there to fight them for it. But in Texas last year, like I said, it was them. But Indy, Dixon led 95 laps. Palou led 47. Erickson 13 in his win. Kanaan 6. Jimmy Johnson 2. Combine that all up, that's 82% of the laps led at the Indy 500 belong to this Ganassi camp, which is the same package from Indy to Texas. And Ganassi improved that much. So can they take that with them? So this weekend, Dixon said he's confident. He told me that he feels really good about this weekend. And when a guy that has won 6 championships and is in the top 2 of every major statistical category in IndyCar history is saying that, that tells me to watch out for them. So if that's the case, so is everybody playing for 5th on back? Could be. That's why the next thing I want to watch for this weekend, be the 3rd point, is the second lane and the attendance. It kind of groups into one because it kind of goes hand in hand. IndyCar and Texas have had a recently rocky relationship. It's great. It's the 2nd longest race on the schedule now. Long Beach, I'm saying St. Pete. Long Beach they kind of lost a few years there, COVID, and then the split. They lost the year and got back together. Texas is that track. It's always been great until that Dan Weldon accident, unfortunately, in Vegas, changed a lot of the way IndyCar wants to race these mile-and-a-half tracks. It used to be a pack race, like a Daytona and Talladega and NASCAR. Well, IndyCar felt that's just tempting fate. Unfortunately, it caught them out in 2011. So 2012, they went the wrong direction as far as too far. They too spread out, and they kind of maintained that for a while. And as a result, you see what you see in the picture behind me. The stands just kept diminishing and diminishing and diminishing as far as the fans in those stands. So IndyCar last year was in the last year of the contract with Texas, and it kind of looked, they may not come back. How many times do you want to play in front of an empty venue? It just wasn't working. But they worked on this package. And the other factor was Texas kind of ruined the track. As you see that dark-colored stuff behind me on the track, that's the traction compound that NASCAR has used at Texas. Well, that traction compound, as we've seen, doesn't work for NASCAR. It definitely isn't working for an IndyCar. And when you touch that, it just sends you loose, and you're going to wreck. You're a passenger. So while IndyCar's worked on their package, you can't pass. It was all single file, low lane. You really didn't have anything for the Penske and Ganassis because if they're up front hogging those spots, how are you going to pass them when you can't go the outside around them? So IndyCar improvised. They worked with Firestone. They worked with the teams. They got a better downforce package, got a better tire, and they used literally a second lane practice last year. And a few guys volunteered, and they only ran in the sticky stuff where speeds weren't a factor. Just, hey, let's just rubber this thing in and see if we can make it work. Luckily, it worked. Unfortunately, nobody thought it would lead into it, so that's why you saw the attendance you saw. But last year, we saw that it was an insanely close finish. It was one of the closest finishes Texas has seen, with Scott McLaughlin battling Joseph Newgarden. And Newgarden actually made the winning move on the outside, which a few years prior, was a no-go zone. Nobody was going up there. Newgarden had better tires life as the pit strategy, which I'll have in my article this week, as far as when to pit, when to get new tires, the tire fall off, it had the whole thing. Newgarden had a few laps fresher tires, and he used that outside lane. He got a good run on his teammate. His teammate caught some lap traffic a few laps prior, and his teammate being McLaughlin. And Newgarden caught him, used the good toe in the backstretch, and he went on the high line in turns 3 and 4, and he used that for a close finish. 15 lead changes. 12 of the 27 drivers last year led at least one lap. Everybody said, hey, it's delivered. Unfortunately, as I said, nobody kind of expected it. So nobody went into this race thinking we're going to see that. This year, there's more optimism. Again, I talked to Dixon, and he said that IndyCar even put more downforce on these cars to help them run in that lane. You're going to have even a better tire. You're going to have guys run that second lane again in practice on Saturday. So they're really trying to build this in to be a better race. Will it work? We're hopeful. The conditions are right. It's not going to be 90-degree temps in June like it used to be. So they're hopeful. Everybody talks about how big of a huge improvement it was last year. Unfortunately, it was a race like Fontana was in 2015. It was almost a race nobody watched. Now we're promoting it. Now people are saying it could be a really good race. So that's why I've kind of put these two in a package that goes hand in hand, is the attendance in that second lane, because they kind of correlate with each other. So I'm going to be watching that. The different rubber is also part of this. Would be another point, is the NASCAR Truck Series is in Texas with IndyCar this weekend. The trucks use Goodyear rubber. IndyCar uses Firestone rubber. They don't mix. They don't mash. It just, when you're running on the Firestone tire on Goodyear rubber and starting on the track, it's going to create marbles. It's going to be slick. You can wreck. Unfortunately, IndyCar will practice early. They have an hour session, and then the truck guys will go out and practice and then qualify. So you're going to have all that Goodyear rubber. It's going to take them a minute to get used to it, but there's enough trucks, they're going to put that Goodyear rubber down. IndyCar will have a 15-minute break between that qualifying session for trucks and qualifying for IndyCar. So you're not going to be able to get that rubber off. So it's going to be treacherous early. And then IndyCar will practice, and then the trucks race. So I'm curious how the tire rubber is going to mix. Dixon didn't know. He thought that it could be a factor, because if that no-go zone in practice, let's be honest, nobody's going to go in there until that second lane practice. You don't want to risk a wreck in practice. So everybody's going to go in the low lane. Those marbles could creep up into that second lane. So that's something I'm going to be watching on Saturday and see how that handles, how these cars are going to work with that. And both sides, even the trucks. How are the trucks going to work with the Firestone rubber? So that's another thing I'm going to watch. The final point for the 5 things I'm watching, rookies. Texas is not an easy track for all those reasons I gave before. But it's even tougher now because the rookies don't have experience at a Texas or Indy anymore. It used to be the Indy Lights, now it's the Indy NXT. They've run the Freedom 100 at the Speedway, so they get some super Speedway experience before they step up to IndyCar. They don't do that anymore. This would be like in NASCAR. There'd be no ARCA, truck, or Xfinity race. You just throw them into Daytona. Yep, here you go. Now you just take off. That's what they're asking these drivers. They've never been on a super Speedway before, and as a result, it's harder for them to even see the finish. 7 of the last 13 rookies have crashed in this race, and that's 4 of the 7 rookies last season each found the wall. Just 6 rookies since 2019 have even finished on the lead lap, and one of them was Jimmy Johnson. However, Johnson wasn't necessarily a rookie at Texas, but he's a rookie in IndyCar and an oval. So Scott McLaughlin was another. He also was runner-up in his Texas debut. But there's a better than 50% chance rookies are going to find the wall. We have 3 rookies this year, all of them very raw. So I'm curious what role they're going to play in Sunday's race. Are they going to be trailing the field? Is it going to be lap traffic because of them? Are you going to be hard to pass them? Can you pass? Can you use the second lane? Do they catch a leader, catching them fast, getting into that second lane, and let's say that second lane isn't fully activated yet? They find the wall. So rookies could be a hazard this weekend, which is something I'm going to be watching with them. Going back to some trends, 12 of the last 13 winners at Texas have started off the front row. So keep that in mind for your betting purposes. I know IndyCar odds don't typically come out until closer to race time, but if you see the front row, you got some odds out, you might want to avoid them. Scott Dixon's win in 2020 was the only time since 2011 somebody won there from the front row. Also, 11 straight races, the winner did come from the top 5 of the starting lineup. That's also, or I'm sorry, I read that backwards. From 2003 to 2011, there's 11 straight races where somebody came from the top 5 of the starting lineup. Over the last 13 years, it's only happened 5 times. So basically what we're saying is take row 3 on back, find you a Penske or Ganassi car, throw money their way. Because it seems to be, for whatever reason, starting position, even with the track being the way it was, hasn't mattered there. There also has been few cautions, 4 or fewer in 14 of the last 16 Texas races. Granted, a lot of those are for rookies. So it depends on where they come in the pit sequences. It's where you can have a little bit of a gap up front. If the bigger teams have better pit stops, have better speed, they typically are able to pull away. 3 of the last 5 races, the driver who's led the most laps also failed to win the race in the end. Newgarden led just 3 laps last year, and they were the right ones. He won the final lap in the end. And he led only 54 laps in his 2019 win. He led 46 of his final 54 laps in that 2019 race in the final stretch. Pato O'Ward only led 25 laps in his 2021 win. So it's safe to say, even if the race gets kind of strung out early, stay tuned, because odds are somebody in the end can steal that win. So that's something you're going to watch. Back to the strategy. This is a three-stop strategy race. It's a simple 3-stopper. Fuel isn't really going to be an issue. It's going to be the tires lasting the fuel stint. So a lot of teams will treat this like a road course. So if it's 200 laps, you're going to count backwards. In this case, I believe it's 250. So you just count backwards from how many laps you feel like the tires can go before they fall off. And then you just go backwards and see who has the tires to last you in the end at the right stint. You don't want to pit too early, and granted, you're going to have good speed through the final stint, but you're going to fall off at the end. You don't want to pit too late and not have enough time to come back. So timing that final stint, that third pit stop, is going to be the key to this race. Looking at some favorites, I mentioned Joseph Newgarden won the race in 2019, 30 years later, 6th and 2nd in 2021, the doubleheader weekend, won last year. Definitely look at his way. McLaughlin, runner-up in 2021. He was 8th the day later in that doubleheader weekend, led 186 laps, finished runner-up last year. He's another one I would definitely take a look at. Pato O'Ward, again, seeing a similar theme here. 3rd and 1st of 2021 is an Indy. We talked about his stats. Last year he was running well. They had an electrical issue. So definitely look at him. Dixon, we already talked about his stats. Those are the guys I'd look at. Ericsson's going to probably be a sleeper. He doesn't typically get odds in the probably plus 700 or 800 range. He's probably going to be at least plus 1,000. Definitely look his way. 7th, 19th, 12th prior to last year's finish in the podium. He won the Indy 500. He comes in with momentum. Definitely watch out for him. Alexander Rossi, he's a guy that if somebody want to watch individually, I'm curious what he can do in a McLaren car. He's always fast with Andretti. Andretti always had bad luck. But now he's with McLaren. We talked about what Pato can do. Rosenqvist was on the pole here last year. Each of them had electrical issues. However, you got to think they got those fixed. We just talked about how Pato did in St. Pete. What can Rossi do? Rossi was 4th in St. Pete, got himself a top 5. He was 5th at Indy a year ago. Now he's with McLaren, so he's one to watch. Rosenqvist just talked about. Definitely watch him. Simon Pagenaud, 3 podiums his last 7 Texas starts, 8 straight top 10s. He was 8th last year. He was also 8th at Indy. He's the guy you're going to want to watch. Elio Castro-Neves, experience factor again. Multiple-time Texas winner, 4-time Indy 500 winner. So the Meyer-Shank guys are going to want to watch. And my biggest sleeper, Tino Ferrucci. Boyd has not always had the best of cars. They haven't won a race since 2013. He is at his best on super speedways. Always good at Indy. And last year, without any practice or qualifying, he hopped in Jack Harvey's car at Rahal, started last, in a track that, again, they're still kind of learning the second lane, finished in the top 10. It was that car's best finish all year. Now he's with Floyd. J.R. Hildebrand was 14th last year. Kyle Kirkwood led 5 laps, and if not for his crash, he was a top 10 car. Now you're handing Ferrucci, who has 3 top 10s and as many Indy 500 tries, that ride. So I'm curious to see what he's going to do in it. So the fade, past that, I mean, Sato, you got to think, yes, he's with Ganassi, but at 14 Texas starts, he's got 1 top 5. He always seems to find the wall. So it's hard to bet on somebody that has wrecked more times than finished there. Will Power, last year was his first top 5 finish at Texas since 2017. 4 of his previous 5 finishes were 13th or worse. His last 3 Indy finishes, 14th, 30th, or 15th. So he's probably going to be high up on the odds list. I'd probably fade him early. Alice Palou, great fantasy play. I'm not so sure of an actual win. He was runner-up in Indy in 2021. He was really good in Indy last year, had a speeding penalty. Texas, he was a top 7, but as far as the top 5, a win, that's stretching it. He was 7th last year here, 9th in Indy, I think a top 10. So those 3 drivers, I have a feeling are going to be pretty high up on the odds list. You might want to punt on those. Andretti Autosport looks great at St. Pete. Finally looked like they're turning around. Finally looked like the pace is going to match the performance, or vice versa. But last year, 3 of the bottom 4 finishers were Andretti drivers. And the guy between them was Kyle Kirkwood, who is now an Andretti driver. So they're showing up, kind of reeling from there. Romain Grosjean, 26th last year, 30th in Indy. Devil DeFrancesco, 24th here last year, 20th in Indy. Kirkwood, he was 25th there last year. As I said, he wrecked, 17th in Indy. Are they just going to magically turn it around, especially after St. Pete's kind of gut-turning performance where they could have had at least 3 of their cars in the top 5, and then you come out with basically none of them. Colton Herta, you would think, well, he could be their best play. However, he's finished 12th or worse in 2 of his last 3 Texas starts and has 1 top 10 in his 3 Indy 500 tries. So it's hard to put stock in those guys. That's why I said the Penske guys, Dixon, are probably going to be your ones to watch on Sunday. Again, at Sunday's race, PPG 375 at noon Eastern on NBC. So it's an early start. Luckily, it's not going against NASCAR. NASCAR is not till 3:30. So definitely something you want to watch. Hopefully this preview video gets you ready to go. Any betting tips, feel free to subscribe again. Leave comments in the comment box. We'll see them. I'll respond back. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, advice, anything you need to know, be sure to utilize that comment box. And be sure to subscribe again. We're at Prime Sports Network on YouTube. Also, I think it's Prime SN. I'll put that in the comment box, or we can put a link in the box too to take to our Twitter. I'm at Eric_Race Review. Anything you can need, anything questions you have, don't hesitate to ask. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in a couple weeks at Long Beach.